Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy Chuck Kenny. I'm back again, and I'm going to briefly explain the basics of the ketogenic diet. Now, I'm going to release a more in-depth video about all of the science, but if you don't want the nitty-gritty and you just want the big idea, then this video is for you. So first and foremost, why did I even attempt doing the ketogenic diet? How did I discover it, and why am I recommending it to people? The reason I tried it is because way back in the day I heard about this diet, but I was a little scared, and I thought that, eating a high-fat diet probably wasn't healthy. It went completely against everything I believed in, and at the time I was really kind of feeding into what the fitness industry prescribes: low fat, high carb, doing these exercise routines that are meant for guys on steroids. I mean, just wrecking myself in the gym, putting in countless hours of cardio, high intensity workouts, and essentially starving myself and making no progress. I was sitting at 210 pounds and thinking there's got to be another way. So I started researching other forms of diets, other different lifestyles, something I could do to kind of break this plateau. Because every time I got to 210 pounds, which I did twice, I just couldn't break through. And I ended up reading a guy, I think his name is Dice Powell, I forget, but he's the author of The Anabolic Diet. It's a really expensive book, actually. I read that entire book, and while there was a lot of good information in it, I kind of asked myself, do I want to half-ass keto, or do I want to do it fully? And for those of you wondering, what the anabolic diet is, that's basically 5 days of keto and then 2 days of carb loading. Another name for it is the cyclogenic cyclogenic, I don't know what people call it, ketogenic diet. It's the same principle. But I figured, I just kind of want to do the standard ketogenic diet and experiment with something that has a really large community and a large knowledge base. Because unfortunately, as I was unaware of it at the time, the anabolic diet did not have a large community, and I didn't know it had a different name. So what I did, when I ended up finding out, is that there's many different flavors of keto. So that's the first thing you need to know. Primarily, there's three. You have the standard ketogenic diet, SDK for short, and that's what I did from May of 2016 to the end of December 2016, where I lost, 60 pounds? Yeah, about 60 or so pounds in that time frame. And additionally, while I was doing that, I learned about the other two flavors of the ketogenic diet, which I haven't tried, but I'm going to experiment with. The next is the targeted ketogenic diet. And the idea behind the targeted ketogenic diet is that you use carbs in a purposeful way for growth. It's for somebody who is looking to build muscle, or at least have the maximum performance athletically, whether it be in the gym, on the track, in the field, wherever have you. They'll use carbs, primarily like fast-acting, high GH carbs, to their advantage. And then the rest of their day is basically a standard ketogenic diet. Lastly, the anabolic diet, or a cyclic ketogenic diet, is 5 days of keto, and then you have 2 days, primarily the weekend, where you bump up your carbs to extreme amounts and carb load essentially for 2 days, and that will replenish your glycogen stores in your muscles so that you can have sufficient training for the rest of the week, or at least that's the idea. There are different flavors of the cyclic ketogenic diet. I see a lot of fitness entrepreneurs, lifestyle fitness gurus out there who are basically taking this idea and turning it into something that they invented, or putting a new spin on it. And honestly, if that works for them, that's fine. But I'm just letting you guys know where this stuff's really being boiled down from, where it's coming from. So those are the three big terms that you're going to see. Those are the three names that people call keto. But you really only need to differentiate between the different types of ketos when you use carbohydrates. That's the only difference. So where did keto come from? Keto came about in the early 20th century as a treatment for epilepsy, actually. It was found that treating patients with a low carb, almost no carbohydrate, high fat diet eliminated to a certain degree the seizures that epileptic kids get. And, medically speaking, the results were great. Now, the thing is, though, there's a difference between a medical ketogenic diet and a standard ketogenic diet. Medicinal ketogenic diets tend to shoot for 80 to 85% of your macros coming from fat, whereas most standard ketogenic diets are coming at the angle that you need to eat 70 to 75%. So somewhere between the line that on a 100-year time frame, the macros changed for the general public. I'm not really sure where and how that changed, but that's what I do know. So fast forward a couple of years, you've got guys in the 70s like Dispal kind of, distilling the anabolic diet. The idea behind the ketogenic diet has been around for a long time, like I said, but it only has become popular in the last... Honestly, the Atkins diet really kicked it off. Now, I'm not an expert on the Atkins diet, but it follows under the same premise, where you eat almost no carbohydrates, high fat, and adequate protein. The only problem with the Atkins diet is that they strive for no carbohydrates whatsoever, and that's dangerous because you still need carbohydrates to get adequate micronutrients and, most importantly, fiber. You don't want to be on a diet that's too dependent on external supplementation. So that's just kind of my advice or my 2 cents about it. I'm not really a big proponent of Atkins, but I do commend Atkins for kind of bringing this idea to the general public, because now people such as myself are kind of talking about the pros and cons of keto. So let's kind of get into the big picture. Now that you guys know where it came from and the terminology, because trust me, you need to understand this stuff because you're going to go on forums and people are going to be talking about this and that. We need to set it straight. So, a ketogenic diet, a standard ketogenic diet, by definition, is where you consume 75%, or at least 70-75% of your macros from fat. We're talking healthy, wholesome sources of fat from your fish, from your nuts, from your beef, your chicken, all that good stuff. I'm not talking pouring Crisco on your salad and calling that fat. I'm saying grab some olive oil or put butter in your coffee, things like that. Healthy sources of fat, not the shit. So the next macros, you're going to be eating moderate amounts of protein, anywhere between 20 to 25%. And then lastly, about 5% is going to be carbs. Now, in general, the rule for carbohydrates on ketogenic diet is that you want to stay under 30 grams of carbs net. Now, what do I mean by that? So, carbohydrates, when you look at the food label, you'll see that maybe something has 50 grams of carbs in it. But what if, and this is going to be a lot, what if that food that you're eating, maybe it's like a big fruit bowl or something like that, had 10 grams of fiber? Well, fiber is a micronutrient that helps you, be regular and move things along. It doesn't actually get digested or burned by the body. So when you look at your food labels, for instance, if you're in MyFitnessPal, you can look at your total carbs for the day and then you subtract the fiber, and that's your net carbohydrate. So when you're calculating how many carbs have you consumed in a day or what you're targeting, you need to keep that in mind. So when people say your goal is 30 net carbs, that's what they mean. Now, I'm not going to lie. You go on different forums, you talk to different gurus, you watch videos, podcasts, you name it. Everybody has their own fucking idea of what the carbohydrate cap is or what it needs to be. Some people say you want to have 20 carbohydrates max. Some people say 30. Some people say they can go up to 50. Now, I personally keep mine around 30. If I go above it, I'm not going to cry. If I go under it, I'm not going to get giddy. 30 is my target. Now, if I'm consistently getting 40 grams of carbs a day and I'm not in ketosis, then that's a problem. And we'll talk about how do you know when you're in ketosis. But generally speaking, 30 grams of carbs, no matter how big of a person or how tiny you are, should work. Now, if you want to go lower, that's fine. Just make sure that you're consuming leafy greens and things like that, and getting an adequate amount of micronutrients and fiber in your diet. That's really the only reason that you consume carbs on a ketogenic diet. It's honestly for fiber and those essential micronutrients. Now, if you are like a really big person, like I'm saying you're 6'2", maybe you're like 200 pounds at like 15% body fat. I mean, you're just a big guy. Yes, I could see somebody consuming 50 grams of carbohydrates a day and still being in ketosis. However, I see guys on forums and their stats 5'6", 150. No, you should not be eating 50 grams of carbs a day. I'm sorry, I don't think that person is going to be in ketosis. Subsequently, I see a lot of confusion on the internet between keto and low carb diets. Like I said, ketogenic, the definition of ketogenic diet is this ratio of fats, proteins, and carbs. Now, if you have somebody who's eating 100 grams of carbs a day and claiming a ketogenic diet, they're full of shit. So you need to make sure, and you need to really watch on some of these forums and subreddits what people are saying, because unfortunately there is a definite book, but I don't think people have taken the time to really sit down and read it. So what's the next big thing you need to understand about keto? I would honestly say probably what happens when you start keto, and then how do you know when you're in it. So I'm on day 4 of keto, and this will be the 3rd time I've done a ketogenic diet. The first time I did it, I failed. I was 17, and all I ate was turkey, bacon, and cheese because I had no money, and that's all I really had in my house, and that didn't work out so well. The second time I did it, I had fantastic results. This is now the 3rd time. So when you're on a keto diet, or you're starting it for the first time, your first week, maybe even first 2 weeks, can be a little rough. And the reason is because when you stop eating carbohydrates, your body's going to start using all the glycogen stores in your muscles, and you're really going to start running through all of the water that you hold. And what I mean by that is, since you're not consuming carbohydrates, your electrolyte stores are going to get dumped. You're going to start feeling like crap. You're also going to get a sense of brain fog, because your brain's primary source of fuel is glucose that is absorbed through, in the bloodstream. When you deprive your body of glucose and your metabolism hasn't shifted over to burning fat and I think it's your liver secreting ketones, pretty certain, and your brain getting used to using ketones for fuel, you're going to get a bit of brain fog. And I noticed I had this pretty heavy yesterday. I was like zoned out. Physically I was fine, but mentally I just wasn't there. Now I'm not gonna lie, today I'm doing a whole lot better. I really kind of kept everything in check, and I just had a great workout. Mentally I'm there. I've been actually cutting back on my coffee. I've decided to do it all at the same time, which can be a little problematic, but I'm doing well, and my energy's fine. I would argue that I'm getting tireder early in the evening, but I think that's mainly because of not drinking so much coffee. As a student in the semester ending, there's no need for me to be drinking a Java espresso at 7 o'clock at night to make it through all those papers. Nonetheless, I've been fine, and maybe it's because I've done this before and I know what to expect, but essentially that's this gloom of induction, or the keto flu people like to call it. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not that bad. Honestly, what you need to do to kind of fight this off is you need to consume adequate amounts of potassium, magnesium, and salt. So in a keto diet, load up on the bacon that's really high in salt, put salt in every single meal and all your foods, and you will hit your salt macro for the day. As a matter of fact, I would probably recommend 5,000 milligrams of salt a day, which is about twice what you need. And the reason for that only is because your body's just flushing water on a keto diet. I noticed that I've been peeing a whole lot more. So because of that, I'm not holding much water, and it's really important that you get those salts in your system, because you don't want to be dehydrated, and you don't want to have low electrolytes. That's the most important thing. So one thing that I see recommended all the time is drinking chicken broth, and I actually highly recommend that. Like, if you don't like dumping tons of salt in your food, just drink a cup of broth every morning, or something along that lines. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as potassium goes, I would hit up avocados and things like that. You could even take a potassium supplement. I know I do. I also personally take a multivitamin and a magnesium supplement, and with all those things put together, I'm feeling great. So if you are feeling groggy, have a couple extra cups of coffee. That's totally fine. If you don't drink coffee, I mean, that's okay too. Just know that it gets better. And let me tell you, it was magical the first time it happened to me. Waking up the morning, and this is what I mean, knowing you're in keto, you're gonna wake up one morning and you're just gonna feel like you're on it. You're gonna feel like you're on some kind of drug that makes you more mentally enhanced. And I'm not talking like Adderall. I'm saying like you're gonna wake up and you just have a lot of mental energy. You're gonna have a lot of focus. You're gonna feel that you're probably the night before you had a great night of sleep. I mean, it's when your brain starts consuming ketones, it's really magical. I've never experienced anything like it. And that to me is when I know I'm on keto. But there's a couple other signs that you can tell as well. First and foremost, your breath becomes sweet. I remember my girlfriend at the time telling me that when she started noticing, she's like, you have a really sweet kind of tone to your breath. She was wondering if I was chewing kind of like I don't want to say a fruity gum, but just some type of gum. And I said no, it's naturally a byproduct of being on keto. Subsequently, your urine will actually have a funny smell to it. Not a bad smell, but I don't want to say sweet but it'll have a distinct smell, and that's the smell of your body I don't want to say excreting excess ketones, but it's a sign that you're in ketosis. And if you have those two elements, then you're pretty damn certain that you're going to be, in the first stages of ketosis. Now, you can go to the store, like a Rite Aid or CVS, and you can buy ketone piss strips, where you just pee on them and then you compare them to the bottle. And while that is one way of testing whether or not you're in keto or you're in a state of ketosis, the problem with that is that your urine is going to be excreting excess ketones. If you're excreting a lot of excess ketones, that's not actually a good thing. As a matter of fact, you can actually do these tests at different times of the day and see that your levels vary. I found that, during, arguably your most toxin dense, urination, which is right in the morning, I would test my urine and find, trace amounts of ketones in them. But if I did my last urination during the night, maybe right before I went to bed, I would see a higher concentration. So, yes, keto strips are indicative of a state of ketosis, but at the same time, I honestly would just tell you to save your money and look for those key features. If you're concerned that you're not in keto and the money is not a problem, go for it. But I don't really see a sense of buying them. You can also get a blood test or things like that. I've never personally done them, so I'm not going to recommend them because I don't really know anything about them. But that's the basics of keto. You've got your terminology. You've got the 3 different versions of keto. I distilled what you eat for the standard ketogenic diet, what differences you do on at a really high level for the other 2 versions, and then how do you know when you're in it. And quite honestly, that's all you kind of need from a world eye view. Why might somebody be doing keto? A lot of people do keto to lose weight. A lot of people do keto to kind of take back, a sense of control or something like that. A lot of people on keto forums say, I don't necessarily agree with this, they say that when you're on keto, you've broken your addiction to carbs. Like carbs were addicting in the first place. And I disagree with this because you don't become addicted to carbs. You become addicted to habits and, feeling good and things like that. Are carbs associated with that? Maybe. But at the same time, I think there's more to it. Your body doesn't have an addiction to different or specific types of foods. Your body merely just is getting used to other types of foods. And as you stop eating carbohydrates for a long time and start eliminating those things, your mental capacity, your desires for them is going to start going away with it. I mean, I went out to dinner last night at a really nice country club, and I got offered all sorts of really nice things that honestly I really wish I could have had, but I kind of kept calm and ketoed on, as some of the community members say, and that was kind of tough. But I'm not gonna lie, like I remember last time I was on keto, I would get offered stuff and I didn't even think about it. And some people like to say that's breaking your addiction. I just say that's kind of getting used to the pattern. And it's very rewarding, for me personally, maintaining a long state of ketosis and a long chain of not breaking. Especially initially, I would say it's very important that you don't break that chain and break your streak of day after day not, sticking to the keto diet and making sure that you're doing everything correctly. But that's all I really have to say for now. If you guys have any questions, if you want any kind of information, or I don't even know, if you want to learn more about keto, hit me up. I'm going to be leaving some links in the description box below of some sources and communities that I think are good. I kind of, talked about some of the concerns I have with some of these communities, but nonetheless, I feel that they're great resources for beginners. If you have any questions, maybe whether or not something's fact or bullshit, come to me, and I'll try to answer these questions, because it's my biggest gripe with the fitness industry right now. There's a lot of bro science, there's not a lot of true science, and I'm a big believer of what has been scientifically verified. So, hope you guys are having a great day. I hope I get better fucking soon. I'm still sick. Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, have a great day.